CE Result Workbook by Paul A. Davis and Tim Faller. Published and copyright Oxford University Press 2008. Unit 1. Page 8. Listening. Exercise 1.
Most people take for granted the ability to read a newspaper or write a letter to a friend. But a great-grandmother, at the grand age of 84, is only now discovering those pleasures for the first time after learning to read and write. Elizabeth Schofield didn't learn a great deal at school. She just sat at the back of the class and learned how to knit socks. She says that her teachers taught her nothing, and that she was left unable to read a word or even write her own name. She left school when she was just 12 years old. Now, after 6 years of lessons at college, Mrs. Schofield has just received an Adult Learner of the Year award, achieving 85% in her final literacy examinations. But what was it like to be unable to read or write for so long? Mrs. Schofield brought up her children without even being able to read the words on a simple packet of cereal. Food shopping was a nightmare for her. She just bought things by recognising what the packets looked like. She knew that cornflakes boxes had a yellow cockerel on the front, and that was the only way she knew what she was buying. At the age of 78, she decided she had had enough and contacted an adult education centre. But what exactly made her finally decide to do something about her inability to read or write? She said that she was in a shop one day when a man came in and started chatting to the shopkeeper. He had come to their village with nothing but the clothes on his back and an old pair of shoes. However, he'd got a job which paid for him to go to college, and eventually he became a lawyer. Mrs. Schofield thought, if he can do it, why can't I? So, with the help of Oaklands College, she began to take weekly lessons to work towards her literacy certificate. It was one of the most difficult experiences of her life. She spent hours every day sitting at home practicing, and often felt that she would never achieve her goal. However, her friends and teachers kept motivating and encouraging her. Mrs. Schofield's tutor, Alison Overington, set out a learning plan for Liz with short and long-term goals. Her long-term goal was to be able to write and reply to letters to her family, who were scattered all around the world, and with whom she had had no contact for a number of years. As soon as she was able to write a few words, Liz wrote her first letter to a member of her family who lived in America. They were so surprised and happy to receive the letter that they replied straight away, inviting her to visit. From that letter, a trip was arranged, and for the first time in her life, Mrs. Schofield travelled abroad and visited her family. According to Mrs. Overington, on her return, she couldn't wait to tell everybody about her trip. The truly amazing thing was that she had written a diary while in America with an account of her adventures. Since that first contact, she has visited America again and other members of her family living abroad. Being able to read and write has transformed her life. In the past couple of months, Mrs. Schofield has been able to start reading her local paper, something she could never do in the past. She used to have to get someone to read it to her, or she would just go without knowing what was going on in the area where she lives. Shopping has become much easier now, as she can read the packets. And for the first time, she can read the signs on buses, so she knows which one to get on. She has even started dealing with bills and official letters. Naturally, Mrs. Schofield is thrilled with her achievement. She said she never thought she'd do it, and that it has totally changed her life. Instead of being frightened to talk to people in case she got something wrong, she now has the confidence to do anything. However, she realises that she still has a long way to go and is determined to do more. "I'll get there in the end, if it's the last thing I do," she says.
Unit 2, page 14. Listening. Exercise 1.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Outward Bound. In this programme, I shall be finding out about the 10 Tours Challenge, which is a special event organised by the Army for young people aged between 14 and 20. I will be speaking to one of the competitors involved in this most demanding of outdoor races.